Good morning, guys. We arrived at camp last night. We set up, we cooked dinner, we had a campfire, we went to bed, and I didn't set up our compost toilet. And of course, everyone's used it this morning. So I'm going to take this little opportunity to show you how to set up your OGO Compost Toilet. It takes a little bit of fiddling around to get it right for your family, but this is what works for us. So you're going to need to grab the bucket from the toilet, your Coir Peat. This is the one that came with the OGO, so it's 9 litres. If you go to Bunnings, they're normally 15. So I'm not going to say use a quarter or a third. I am going to measure it out for you so we can get the right details, and a knife, because this Coir Peat is so hard. So I normally find that about 300 grams of the Coir Peat works well for us. Basically what you want to do is you want to break it up, add a little bit of water so it fluffs up, and you want it so that it's just covering the agitator in there. Now you don't want to make it too wet because then it won't do what it needs to do, and I know some people just use it completely dry. So depending on your family and their bowel motions, will depend on how much water you pop in. Okay, so Coir Peat is a messy thing. Basically, it's just completely compacted. You're not going to be able to cut it half, like cut it that way. And if you are, you're a genius. So what I do is I stand it up like that. Please watch your fingers, and I use a knife, and you can shear it off in blocks like that. So that's what I find works the best and makes a huge mess. So do it somewhere that it's not going to matter. Okay, so when using the big blocks from Bunnings, I've kind of worked out that I get about 3.5 buckets to the full block. But today I'll measure it out so you can see. And you can see how dangerous this could be. Once you get it thin as well, it is quite easy to break. So I'm almost there. This wasn't a very big block. Okay, so about 300 grams. Now, once you get your measurements right, literally just pick it up, and I give it a little bit of a squish in the bucket. I do know some people that barely even break it up. They just shove it in there with some water and let it do its thing. I find it just works much easier if you break it up. Now, because I've shaved it off in those thin sections too, it's really quite easy just to crumble up. And you can see the mess that it's making. So that is all done. You'll see that in there. And I will bring it over to show you how much is in there when it's dry. So I've done this before, and I forgot to measure the water, and everyone always asks me how much water I used. So I'm going to pop, I may as well measure it. We've got the scales. How much will I put in? I think on the packet it says to do, 1.5 to 2 litres. That's way too much for us. We like it still fairly wet. Okay, so when you add the water, your Coir Peat's going to expand. It's going to fluff right up. Now, you don't want to get it too wet. Otherwise, you're not going to get a whole bucket's worth out. Once it's too wet, it's going to stop doing its job, and you'll have to chuck it out and start again. So we like it fairly dry. I do still like to put some water in there because I like a bit of moisture in there so it can fluff up. So I measured 500 mils. I figure let's put the water in and work out what we've got left. So just tipping it in. That might have been too much even. What have we got left there? 150. So I've used 350 mils of water. Now normally I'll just put this back in the toilet and press the agitator a couple of times to roll it around. But we're outside, so let me give it a little bit of a mix up with my hand, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I used 350 mils of water to our 300 grams of Coir Peat, and to be honest, I definitely wouldn't use any more. I probably would have liked it a smidge bit dry, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just scrape off all these little scraps of Coir Peat and pop it in there. The benefit though is if you don't overfill it from the start, that if your Coir Peat's getting too wet and there's still plenty of room left in the bucket, you can just add some more dry Coir Peat to take some of that moisture out of there. If it's full and it's wet, you need to dump it. If it's full and it's not too wet, you need to dump it. So having a little bit of space is great. Now I'm going to bring the camera over so you can see how that Coir Peat's really fluffed up. So as you can see, our agitators are well covered. The Coir Peat's still dry. It's really fluffy. and it's not too wet. If it was too wet, you wouldn't be able to do that little fluff with it. So you can see how much, you know, there's a little top of the bar there, but you can see how much that's actually fluffed up to cover those agitators. So that is it. Toilet is ready to be used. When we are completely off grid and doing absolutely everything in here, we'll get about 7 to 8 days. We are a family of 4. However, super easy to empty. And when we are somewhere where we might be popping into town, there might be amenities in here, we can go a couple of weeks easy with this. To empty it, simply tip it into a plastic bag, tie it off, pop it in the bin. I always double bag it at least. And when we're completely off grid, we'll go out into the bush and then dump it out there where there's nobody to be seen, and we can dig a little hole. Another little tip is for your urine bucket is if you put a little bit of white vinegar in the bottom. I normally do a good little dash. It's going to neutralise the urine and not be so hectic when you empty it, because 11 litres of urine is wildly disgusting.